You're listening to Over the Top Radio on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Over the Top Radio. I am your host, Ed, in San Antonio, and my other two co-hosts are being unprofessional and being late or missing the show tonight. But not to worry, because I am joined by our guest tonight, the one and only, the most powerful man in women's wrestling, Dave Prazak. What's going on, Dave?
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but...
a little bit of both.
But, yeah. So how's it going tonight? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I just found out not that long ago that Craig, who I was depending on, is either going to be late or missing the show, and I already knew Akira was going to be late. So, but other than that, everything's going good. And we are either 2 or 3 weeks away from WrestleMania weekend. You have a big show.
Three. Trust me, it's 3 because today is the cutoff on the 3-week advanced purchase of airline tickets. So that's why I've been kind of occupied trying to schedule travel for some people.
Okay. And, I've been doing so much myself for WrestleMania that I don't even know how long it is, and I'm sure you've got a lot more pressure and shit to do than I do. But we also had...
part of it, you at least know some of the headaches of having to organize something wrestling-related with the bus trip and everything to Mania and everything. So
yeah, the bus, dinner, having to deal with Brian, who doesn't do a damn thing to help me promote this thing for his website.
So how many people are how many people are buying the dinner, and do they have to pay? Do they pay for the whole thing through you, or do they just make a reservation but they have to pay for their own dinner that night? How do they do that?
Well, I've made it easy as possible. I'm having it at a place where basically it's a set menu price. It's one of those Brazilian barbecues where they bring you the food. So
which aren't cheap. So.
Yeah, they're not too cheap, and so I got a set price. So I had everybody PayPal me the money. That way I don't have to turn in 20 credit cards, so much cash, round out what everybody bought.
Oh
everything.
Yeah, did you try doing that one year and it was a mess or something like that?
Well, there was one year where we had 2 big-ass tables, and they were supposed to make at least 3 or 4 checks for each table, but the one waitress said, fuck it, and just brought this one giant check for 30 people, and it was a bitch to figure out. So, yeah, I've made it as easy as possible. So, basically, we got 65 people going as of today.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's been a hassle. I got about 80 people going on on 2 buses. The first bus sold out so quick. So no, it's been a lot of work. But like I say, nothing compared to what you've probably got going on and stuff. But before we talk about the upcoming Shimmer tapings, I had the pleasure of going to my first ever Shimmer DVD tapings in Chicago, and awesome show and a lot of good things about it. But I do have a couple bones to pick with you about that show, and I want to get those out of the way already. So I've since have talked to my lawyers, and we feel that we have a great case against you guys, because I don't know if everyone listening knows, but I was there enjoying the show, being a good boy, not doing anything offensive in any way, and I was physically assaulted, brutally assaulted by Soraya Knight while I was minding my own business, and she nearly broke my ribs, and I don't want to sue you for $1 million, because we're good friends and stuff, but I feel I deserve some compensation, and I think we should try and work that out right here on the show.
If you need her contact information, she lives in England, so good luck tracking her down. And
well, actually, I just saw her on Total Divas just the other day.
Wow, yeah. That was I've watched the first half of that episode. That was the first time I've actually tried watching Total Divas, by the way. So that's the first. I didn't know exactly what the show was like, and now I kind of do.
Yeah, I want some of that Total Divas money.
Way too much of the Bellas arguing over whether they should be purchasing a scooter or not. I'm like, wow. But I guess lots of people watch this show, though.
Did you get to the point where Daniel Bryan had his helmet on and looked like
No, I have not gotten to that point. Mainly it was because people were like, yeah, they used the clip from Melissa and Soraya Knight from Shimmer, and I'm like, okay, cool, I guess I'll have to take a look at this.
How did they use that? Don't they have to pay you some money for that?
They contacted me a couple months
okay.
Actually, a couple
so
months ago. I don't know. When did they film the stuff that's airing right now, when was it filmed?
It was like about half a year ago, because I think they just showed where like Alicia and Paige got into like a fucking barroom fight or something, and I remember when that got reported like months ago. So
yeah, because this had to have been January when they contacted me about it.
Yeah, something like that. So.
Yeah.
But I know you've actually had this kind of a problem before, and to me, after I recovered from the blow, I was marking out, and it was like the most awesome thing that ever happened to me. But have you ever had to deal with people who aren't as cool as me about something like that?
Moving right along. So this show in Texas, it's gonna be it'll be a good time.
Okay, well, we can skip that subject, but let me get to my other complaint, and that is, I saw, I don't know how many of the most awesome matches that weekend, but I had to live through this Sparkle match, and if you don't want to name any names or anything, can you tell me what the hell happened there?
I haven't seen the match you're talking about, because I was late to my own show. So I honestly didn't get to my own show until match 3, which was I'm sure everyone appreciated, but it's true. I'm late to life. I'm late to everything. So I haven't seen the match, and I haven't. If it was taped, I haven't watched it. So
why were you late to your own show?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Ed. I've heard about this, but I have no idea what you're referring to.
Well, why were you late to your own show?
Because I do a million things that day. I've lots that have to be accomplished on a given day for Shimmer, and it's not just running the show. It's everything involved. So.
Well, when I watched that,
I mean, people always would talk about how sometimes during WCW Nitro era that they would actually be starting the show, the live broadcast, before the show was done being put together, and they were like booking the show as it was happening. There's a strong chance that I was emailing the lineup to Lexi Fife and Allison Danger and Porsha Perez at I don't know, 15 minutes before bell time or something, and then getting on the road to go to the building. So I don't know. There's a strong chance that may have been the case.
Well, I will say this about that match. Part of my brain thought it was the most, because it was so bad, that it was the most awesome thing I ever saw. The other half of my brain was like, you need to ask for a refund.
There's a reason why certain matches are pre-show.
Yeah. Well, I will say
that doesn't mean that somebody's going to get hired or be utilized on every show in the feed. We've had some pretty bad. I mean, we've had some bad main show matches before, but this was, from what I understand, a pre-show match that was not widely accepted by those in attendance. So that's why they're pre-show, though. And we make it clear this is not the main show. This is Tryout. I mean, that's what we've done in the past. We call them Sparkle. It's just a dark match to see if someone that we may be considering would be suitable for appearing on the shows in the future. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And there have been a lot of people that we've given opportunities to over the years, and some of them worked out. Some of them, it's a way also to test out how dedicated some independent wrestlers are, because not everybody lives near Chicago, and if it's just a dark match, we don't fly people in to have tryout matches. So it's if somebody wants to get their foot in the door, isn't already established working for other promotions, what they kind of need to do is, it's all right, well, here's the weekend that we're doing shows in Chicago. See you in Chicago, and if you want to get an opportunity, we'll put you on in a pre-show match, and if it gets over really well, then maybe in the future we'd use you on the main show or whatever. But, so the question is, are they dedicated enough to get themselves to Chicago, whether it be driving or, traveling, flying themselves in, whatever. And then, obviously, if somebody does something like that, they're pretty dedicated to pro wrestling. Then it's down to how skilled they are inside the ring. And if they don't think that they are ready to have a really good match that's going to make a strong impression and is going to get them booked in the future, then maybe they wouldn't waste the money to get themselves to Chicago to have a terrible match. So, it's a way to see the attitude of some of the wrestlers before they even come in, because you obviously don't want to add someone to the mix on the main show that's going to have the wrong attitude or be a locker room problem or whatever. So it kind of weeds people out before they're there to be a problem, if they are going to be a problem. And it also shows who's really dedicated and who's deserving of getting an opportunity in the future. There's a lot of girls that that went on to become main eventers that were just doing Sparkle, or like Mia Yim. Like in her first year as a wrestler, she was doing the Sparkle stuff. And she was really green at the time, but now she's, one of the best female wrestlers in the world. So. Oh,
I totally agree with you on that. Speaking of, what you're talking about, basically, they have to pay some dues, and, that's the story of paying dues. But speaking of that, you mentioned, to see how kind of dedicated they are. Well, this past show, on the first day after the show, I saw Solo Darling and Amanda Rodriguez helping out clean up the place, and then I talked, because I didn't think either one of them were on the show, and then I'm talking to them at that post-show thing party at the bar. They were both. I asked them if they were on the show tomorrow, and they were both, no, we're just here to support, help out, whatever. And then lo and behold, they got a match on one of the DVDs. So how did that? Did they, by showing up and proving? I guess that proved to you to give them a match, or what went into you deciding to be nice and give them a match on the DVD?
I guess kind of, because they were there. Neither of them. They weren't lying to you when they said they weren't booked. They weren't booked. They just they decided to come down because it's been the case a lot in the past, and I think they know that, where we have a very loose. It's not a very rigid lineup. Set of shows. Like I said, sometimes, and probably way too often, we're finishing the lineups the morning of the show. But they know from previous experience for other girls, not necessarily. It was the first time that Meadow Rodriguez was at one of our one of the shows in Berwyn. She's been around Mania weekend before, but for the Berwyn weekend, since we're filming 4 DVDs, and we've got already planned anywhere from 32 to 40 wrestlers. I guess every once in a while, and especially in the days of when we would do lots of Sparkle matches, we haven't done very many of those lately, because we already have too many matches on the show. But a lot of the girls know from personal experience that sometimes if you're there that weekend, because we do 11 or 12 match DVDs most of the time, odds are if we need an extra person or if somebody gets hurt halfway through the weekend and we need to fill a spot, odds are a lot better that they're going to be put on at the last minute than if they are there, than if they're not even in Chicago that day. So probably that's the reason that both of them showed up, because they wanted to be on the show, but there wasn't necessarily room enough to be booked in advance. But at the last minute, we decided to throw them on the Sunday show. And it wasn't because anybody got hurt or anything. It was just, honestly, when we were putting things together and I knew that they were both there, I'm like, well, throw them out there for, short little match early on the first DVD of the day, and so that's what we did. I don't know. I guess that's being overly nice, because they actually made the trip and were there, and we didn't really have a way to work them in. Otherwise, we threw them out there against each other. So.
Well, I figured it was because you're doing it as a favor for me, because I'm friends with them, and we have.
Yeah, it was all entirely you, Ed.
But going back to that taping, it was some of the best wrestling that I ever saw as far as women's wrestling. I don't even know how many fucking matches y'all had that weekend, but
too many.
Too many. I never got tired though.
We honestly probably shouldn't have added that match between them, but we did.
Well, and I also know that you had an extra match the next day because you weren't able to fit in like Thunder Kitty and Matsumoto.
Oh yeah, Thunder Kitty and Hiroyo Matsumoto. We had to cut. That was the one match we had to cut from the first day because we only had the building for 5 hours or whatever. So.
Okay, well, speaking of that, I mean, that was your 10th anniversary weekend or tapings, and it should have been like, you know, the best and this and that, and basically it seemed like you had to deal with one fucking disaster after another leading up to and even the days of these shows. And what the
original building we were going to run in still owes me my my deposit from the day that we didn't even run. I was supposed to get that was supposed to be returned because we canceled. You know, we decided that it was too risky to try to run there because of their. They like originally. Okay, here's the short story for people that didn't hear it. I'll try to give the short version of it. We were because of the 10th anniversary, we were going to run a bigger building on the Saturday, and then on Sunday we'd run our usual Eagles Club, which is could fit 250 people, small place. But 10th anniversary, we've been doing it for 10 years. We've been running the Chicago area for 10 years. So we were like, let's try on just the Saturday to run a bigger building. And the place that we found, it was less than a mile away from the Eagles Club. Inside, it kind of looked very similar to like the Manhattan Center with a balcony and everything, and similar size and everything, maybe a little bit smaller than the Manhattan Center. So it wasn't just me; it was AAW that runs all the shows in Chicago. They're like my promotional partner in Chicago, where we'd use their ring and everything over the years, and they, I used their entranceway, and they always helped me out. So they were going to run their big show like during November, and I was going to run their first in October. So on the same day, Shimmer and AAW booked this building for later in the year. We booked it in like late January, I think, of last year. And, we announced far in advance, hey, we're going to run this big building. And then, everything that, the day that we booked it, it was agreed upon that we'd be able to do a setup very similar to, like, what ROH does and what WWF used to do in the Manhattan Center, where you have the ring on the floor and you have seating around the ring on the floor, plus seating on the stage, plus seating in the permanent seats in the balcony. And they agreed to it, and we announced the date, we sold tickets to the thing, and then, a couple weeks, like 2 months out maybe, they started changing little aspects of the rental agreement. Like, not only do you have to pay this enormous amount of money for rent, but you also need to have an entertainment license in the city of Cicero, Illinois, and that's $1,500 a year. You could run as many shows as you want during the year. Like, okay, but we're only doing whatever. I'm like, all right, $1,500, whatever, fine. And then they're like, oh, and I don't think the city of Cicero is going to allow us to put chairs on the floor. We tried doing that once at an event, and then and we weren't supposed to. And a city official showed up and tried to shut the show down during the show. But we were able to finish it, but they issued a $2,000 fine at intermission. I'm like, well, we already sold tickets, like front row ringside tickets, second row ringside tickets to this show. We can't just put everybody in the balcony or something like that. It's not going to work. So I'm like, that's a deal breaker. And then a week went by and the guy changed his story. He's like, they probably won't come show up and shut it down. We'll probably be able to get away with it. And I'm like, I can't risk probably when I've got a roster of 40 wrestlers, 20 of which are from outside of the country. We're not gonna. Maybe they'll shut the show down is not an option. No. So we were stuck probably 3 weeks in advance or something, we had to find a different building to run. And the Eagles Club was already booked for a Lucha Libre show that night, and they wouldn't switch their date. And there wasn't much available. I mean, on 3 weeks' notice, on a Saturday night, any decent wrestling venue is already rented out to either another wrestling show or to some other sort of, whether it be a wedding reception or whatever. So we had to do what we had to do, and that involved running the Eagles Club with a 10 o'clock in the morning bell time so that we could get our show done before Lucha Libre needs to be in that building. So that's what we did. I thought it was going to be a disaster, and it wasn't, because we have a loyal fan base, and everybody was there at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we were done early enough in the afternoon that we were having our little after-party Q&A session and everything during the middle of daytime. And everybody, like, we were able to have the show, have our Q&A and our meet and greet or whatever, and then still everybody could have the rest of the night to go and do whatever the hell they want in Chicago. So it was something that some people enjoyed because they're used to, we run until the evening, and then all you can really do is go back and try to get some sleep before getting up the next day to do it again. But at least this time, some people enjoyed the morning bell time. I don't know. I don't know if does that include you, or did you hate that?
It didn't bother me at all, honestly. Me and Sean went to the show, the AAW show the night before, but after that show was over, I mean, I just basically went back to the hotel room. So it's not like,
it was probably hell on anybody that wanted to that went to AAW, because that probably ended at like 11 or 11:30 or something like that, and then 10 o'clock in the morning is the next show.
Yeah,
Friday to Saturday was probably difficult, but at least between Saturday and Sunday, people had a few more hours of either sleeping or doing other stuff.
Yeah, no, I didn't mind it at all. And I wanted to ask you about the meet and greet thing, because, like I say, you usually do that between the DVD tapings, and this time you had to do it after at this one bar. I think it's Cigar and Stripes is the name of it? Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about what kind of feedback you got from the people who went to this, because it was kind of like at first it was very crowded because everybody got their time. Everyone's trying to buy gimmicks and take pictures, and it was like pretty much bottlenecked in the whole thing. It was pretty packed, hard to move. But then once it cleared out, it was pretty awesome. But what kind of feedback did you get from the people? Did they enjoy it? Did they not enjoy it? What did you hear about that?
Well, that was another case of we had to find something at the last minute. Because, like, again, a lot of people, not only the wrestlers, but people like you that travel from outside of the Chicago area to make a whole weekend out of this. And I know I think it only came down to one. There was one fan who said that, he had to switch his flight or whatever in order to make it in time. I had to refund some tickets, like people that bought tickets thinking that the first show wasn't going to start until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We had to start it at 10 o'clock in the morning. Because, I mean, as it is, because we do taping days for people that aren't familiar, we start in the afternoon and end during the evening, usually. And we do like 7-hour tapings to film 2 DVDs in a day. So we had to start at 10 o'clock in the morning, again, that's only 4 hours earlier than we usually would start anyway. But so because the show was going to be over so early in the day, we kind of felt we had to do something during the evening, or do something during at least like late afternoon into the early evening, just so it seems like it's a full weekend, so it's not like, go to a 10 o'clock in the morning show and then kill time for the most of the weekend until Sunday when we do the second show. So we decided, and because we only had the building for a shorter amount of time on that Saturday, so that we could be done in time for Lucha, we didn't have enough time to have any intermission. We just went straight through for 2 full DVDs with no intermission. And then we do what would count as an intermission where people could meet the wrestlers and buy their merch and everything. We did that at the after thing. So we had to find a place. Once we knew that we had to run the Eagles Club at 10 o'clock in the morning, we knew we had to find a place that would allow us to do an after thing and take over their building for a few hours.
Because you couldn't go to Prazaks because of the World Series or something like that, right?
Yeah, there were still, they had full building, and you also have to find a place, and I didn't pursue it that much about like if you don't know the owner of a restaurant/bar. I guess it's easier with a bar because it's a more relaxed type of atmosphere. But if you don't know the owner of an establishment, to suddenly bring in, 40 wrestlers plus, 150 plus fans that end up showing up to the thing. Not the entire crowd comes, but a lot of them do. To do that and have them be cool with selling merch and stuff like that in their business, you need to, that's not an easy task. Like, if you don't know the owner, you're probably going to have to rent the place for the entire day and give them somehow figure out a way that anything that the wrestlers sell, somehow the business gets a percentage or whatever. But I knew Ronnie Lotz, who's the owner of Cigars and Stripes. He was an old manager. He was in USWA for a little while in the early 90s as a manager. And so he knew he knew wrestling people. He knows what we're dealing with. We did something the year that there was the big disaster storm in the Northeast was one of the Shimmer weekends. What was it called? What hurricane was that or whatever?
Katrina?
Yeah. That was at the end of a Shimmer weekend. So a lot of the wrestlers that were supposed to travel home on that Monday morning, all the flights were canceled and everything. So a lot of them were stuck, including all the Japanese wrestlers, were stuck in Chicago for an extra couple of days. So I remember that weekend we went over to Scars and Stripes and did and some of the fans were stuck too. So we did a little mini thing there that time. Obviously, it wasn't a huge crowd of 150 people because it wasn't planned, but it was just for the people that were in town. I remember we did commentary over it was using the microphone that we used to do the Q&A and his big screen that he's got there. He was playing a horrible WCW pay-per-view, one of the Halloween Havocs or something during probably the Vince Russo era type period of WCW, and we were just doing Mystery Science Theater style or Colt Cabana, Marty DeRosa style commentary over it. So we already had dealt with the place before for doing something like that. So even though it was a very small location, I think it was fine for what it was, And it was a nice day, and it was during the day, so half the people that were there didn't need to be packed inside the little bar. They could be hanging out either on the patio or on the parking lot. People were hanging out in the parking lot drinking and stuff like that. So it was what it was. We're probably not going to do anything of that level in such a small location. Again, it was last minute, and Ronnie Lotz was the one that was willing to help us out and didn't want anything in return.
Well, that's cool.
So that's what we did.
I also know you did the Q&A to there's kind of a little makeup thing for all the things, and
so we got a VOD out of that. We had a rotating group of wrestlers that would 2 or 3 wrestlers would stand up on the stage and take questions and from the crowd and while drinking, so that made for an interesting atmosphere. So we got a 90-minute video out of that which we have up on demand at the wwnlive.com right now, if anybody...
Well, I remember I was outside talking to you while it was going on, and then you went inside, and then you came back out, and you kind of were acting this is a freaking disaster.
It's not what I expected because I came from the era of if anyone's seen them, if they weren't fans back then, ECW used to do those fan conventions twice a year, and they would have their Q&A session, which would be like a 3-hour-long thing with a panel, which was more like what you would see at a Comic-Con convention kind of thing, where it's an actual panel sitting at a table taking questions like somebody asks a question and then the wrestler will give a long-winded answer or tell a road story or something more similar to like a shoot interview than what we ended up doing. It was more like, I mean, we didn't even have chairs for anyone to sit down on. It was like whoever was on the stage was just standing there. They looked like a stand-up comedian or something.
It was kind of weird
questions, but they weren't like. It didn't seem like we were getting like a lot of like. I mean, some of them were okay, but we weren't getting like the in-depth kind of questions that I was expecting it to be more like what the ECW fan convention Q&As used to be like, which I guess was more formal and like, I don't know, giving long-winded serious answers.
Well, it was weird because like you'd have some of them out there and they'd just be doing just answering normal questions as being a normal person, and then you'd have half of them, another group, go out and they're totally kayfabing and being in character.
Yeah.
And it was kind of.
And I remember at the time Perry Saturn did that at the ECW thing. Like the Eliminators were just being dicks and weren't fucking answering any questions properly. But then you'd have Paulie and you'd have Shane Douglas and people like that are actually answering questions. So
yeah, you had the Europe contention yelling at the people and demanding that they buy them drinks, and
I think that was my idea. I was like, yeah, just go up there and heal everybody out, whatever. I'm like, this isn't going the way that I thought. So just have fun with it, and I don't know.
I liked how they kind of trolled Kaylee Ray, and they kept cutting her off.
Well, that's her mistake for going up there with Saraya Knight and Rhea O'Reilly. Like, who goes up there with them if they want to be treated properly? Like, come on, it's Saraya Knight and Rhea O'Reilly.
I just remember, like, when you came back outside, you were like, could you all do it in character, please, or do something? And I just remember Vita Scott got excited because she was worried about it.
Go do something entertaining, because it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't what I expected. I mean, I guess the people that have seen the VOD, I guess liked it, but at the time I envisioned something completely different than what we got. But I guess what we got was still mildly entertaining.
Well, like one of the groups that was kind of like giving the answers that you're talking about was probably Viva Mia, Heidi, and Havoc. But even though they were just doing that, it was still awesome because you had Eddie Kingston being a dick in the background and trolling them the whole.
Yes.
So no, I enjoyed the Q&A. I thought it was great. I actually watched
Eddie Kingston enjoyed Masa Chono, and I still hold it against him. Put everybody else to sleep.
Well, speaking of other male wrestlers that were around that weekend, right after I was assaulted, like I say, for no reason, they did a spot where, well, basically that match, Saraya was wrestling Crazy Mary Dotson, and she beat her ass basically, 99.99% of this match until the finish. And while they were fighting outside, I guess Pondo was, like, right there, so everybody starts chanting Pondo. And Saraya's like, what the fuck are you going to do? And then Pondo gave her, like, the double bird and shit. So at the next Shimmer taping, can we finally see the first intergender match and see Saraya Knight versus Man Pondo?
That might piss somebody off if we start doing intergender wrestling.
Yeah, you don't want Brian
I remember
to
one
that.
time we had I remember one time when we had Larry Sweeney just as a manager at one show, and everybody flipped out and got pissed. I'm like, I thought people liked Larry Sweeney. He was a good manager. But it was just like, it seemed like the fans just didn't want to see a guy involved in the show as anything more than like being the ring announcer or being a referee or something like that. I don't know. So after that, we never risked having like a male manager or anything like that on any of the shows, or much less wrestle on any of the shows.
Yeah, you don't.
And I don't know, that, like, to me, there's always been, and you know, every company can do whatever they want. There are promotions out there that do full, like, you know, AIW in Cleveland will do their Battle of the Sexes style shows once a year or whatever, where they've got they do nothing but intergender matches, and that's fine because it's something that you don't see at Shimmer. But you know, like that WEW promotion that used to run Philadelphia. That was half real wrestlers and half strippers or whatever. They'd have intergender wrestling, and then I think WSU's had intergender stuff.
Yeah, they got some wacky stuff going on there.
So I've always been of the opinion, because in years past, the intergender stuff's been done and not been well received by the audience, that, like, if we're a women's promotion, that should be, like, what makes us different from every other independent wrestling promotion, so why would we ever put a guy in a match? So we don't. But yeah, Man Pondo was in attendance, and therefore...
He was having he was having some car trouble after one of the shows. We were gonna give him a jump, but somebody beat us to it.
Oh, I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, it was out. So I didn't even know it was Pondo until Sean, because Sean was like, hey, Pondo, you need a jump or something? And he was like, yeah. I was like, Pondo, is that Madman? And he was like, yeah.
Was it at the end of the weekend, or when was it?
I think it was Saturday. I think it was after the first show.
Weird. Yeah, I never even knew that. So.
But speaking of, you had mentioned.
But then again, I was late to my own show, so what do I know?
well, speaking of that, you said how you kind of get the lineups like really, really late. How did it? Okay, there was one match that it seemed like it worked out. Okay, you have Leva Bates doing a Charlie Chaplin gimmick, and she just happened to be wrestling the most perfect wrestler for her to wrestle. Was that match already booked, or how did that just come about? Because
she has always wanted to do the Charlie Chaplin thing at a show, so that was the right time to do it, right? so
that one was pre-booked before, or?
We knew
like I say, it was
we
perfect
knew that she
opponent.
was bringing the outfit and everything. So
okay.
Yeah.
So you just figured, okay, well, Thunder Kitty's the best.
Yeah, if you have Leva with a Charlie Chaplin outfit, what's the right match to do? You do Thunder Kitty. That's like a no-brainer.
Yeah,
so.
that was actually awesome. But the one match that really got the crowd out of control was the four-way on that match. That was Mia Yim, Allison Kay, Veda Scott, Chaz and McKenzie. I don't know what the hell happened, but that was one of the most craziest crowds I've ever been a part of. That small, being that loud, that crazy, what were you thinking? And could you hear how loud it was in the back?
Yeah, and I watched the tape back just to make sure.
Did it come across like that on the tape?
I think it was all. It comes across on the tape how loud everything. Yeah.
Awesome.
And for everybody that wasn't there, which is most people listening right now, it was probably at hour number 6 of the week of the day, and on the second day of taping. So usually at this point in a Shimmer weekend, everyone is very tired and has very little energy left. That's the wrestlers and everybody that has been sitting there watching wrestling for so many hours for 2 straight days. But for some reason, we had this four-way match, and all of the heels got mad heat, and all the babyfaces got huge reactions during their entrances. And during the match itself, the loud negative reactions for the heels and positive reactions for the babyfaces just continued, and it just went on for the rest of the show. There was another 3 matches left after that, including the Saraya Mary Dobson match that you were talking about, and including the main event of the weekend, which was the 8-woman tag. And it made for the last hour or so of that final DVD to come across really good, because for whatever reason everybody got really energetic during that match and stayed with that strong energy through the end of the weekend, and it made for especially entrances for the anniversary main event. Everybody got huge reactions. We would have liked for them to get the huge reaction anyway, but for whatever reason, I don't know, it was like the crowd had just ingested a ton of sugar or something, and in combination with lots of alcohol to make them really rowdy, and in addition to hyper and loud. But it was all, I think that the source of all of it wasn't it just healing on referee Andy Long? For some reason, everybody booed him so heavily that they decided to just continue to boo people they didn't like that loudly, and thus, because they were booing so loudly for Andy Long and the 2 heels, then they cheered really loudly for the babyfaces.
Well,
that's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, that, and also, but Veda was also getting monster heat, it seemed like every time, more heat every time she came out.
Okay.
And, they hated Veda.
So it was just I think it was just heels that they really wanted to boo, so everybody did, and they're all right, then give huge reactions to the baby faces. And then everybody was wow, it's pretty loud, let's see how long we can keep doing this.
Yeah.
And it lasted for the rest of the show, so.
Yeah, it was, besides all the little disasters that happened leading up to the show, what were your thoughts by the time it was finally finished both days? And you brought back two of your originals, and Daisy Haze and oh God, I can't think of her name right now.
Lacey.
Yeah, Lacey.
Yeah.
And okay, let me ask you. You might not even want to talk about this, but certain Twitter troll from Ireland told me that up until about a week before that, Del Rey
I don't even know who Twitter troll from Ireland.
Robert.
Okay.
Okay, he told me that Del Rey was booked on the show about a week before, and the WWE put the kibosh on it.
She wasn't booked, but there was a chance that she might have been allowed to do it, but she was needed for her regular job, which is working for the WWE. Like, we tried, and it was in the realm of possibility of happening, but she wasn't able to do it because she had other responsibilities that day.
Okay.
So, I mean, it would have been cool if we could do it, but we intended on Daisy and Lacey all along. Like the whole idea was to have the main event of the debut DVD, which was Daisy Haze versus Lacey, on opposite teams of the tag team main event of the 10th anniversary show.
Was it hard to get them to come back? Because I don't think Daisy's done anything at all for like years.
She hasn't. Like before that, her last wrestling related.
Wasn't it Atlanta?
On a show was it was shortly after that. It was what would it have been? It was when she quit. I mean, she quit. I guess she quit on a shoot, but it was an angle at the time when she quit Shimmer on, I think it was volume 41. Like it was earlier in the DVD, she and Nakagawa lost the tag titles to Kurihara and Hamada, and she got pissed off at the fans and pissed off at the promotion and quit on the microphone and then stormed out. And that was the way of writing her out of Shimmer. And then that ended up legitimately being the last time that she appeared on a wrestling show, whether it be us or Chikara or ROH or anything. So she hadn't done it. I mean, she helped out like behind the scenes at ROH a little bit after that, but had never and like would help out at training for a little while, I believe, at ROH after that. But like she never was on the show again. So she was completely away from wrestling. But I mean, I like for something like, and I mean, I've tried to do this with Shimmer over the years too. If we've created a star through them being a featured performer on like some of our early DVDs, to bring them back means more to the Shimmer audience that's been following us over the years than if we were to, say, book someone who just got released from WWE, who might be a national name and been on television for a long time, that we could bring in and it would cost us a bunch of money. It's better to have Daisy Haze and Lacey come in than to surprise everybody with, some big name off TV. So that's what we did. I mean, and I've always liked long-lasting independent promotions that would do something similar on an anniversary show, where even though they might not be a big star, if there was somebody from early in that promotion's run that is available and could still have one more match, to bring them back for the fans that have, been regularly attending those live events for years. It means a lot to those fans to see Daisy and Lacey, to even hear their music kick in and see them come out, much less have a match. And a lot of the fan base that we do have has been, even if they weren't watching us and attending the shows from the very beginning, they've gone back and watched the early DVDs. So like they know the company's history and they know what Daisy Haze and Lacey meant to Shimmer overall. So it was like a perfect way of doing an anniversary main event. We had everybody in the building, except for Melissa, was in that match. That was everybody that was on the first show that we did that was in the building that day was involved in that main event. So, we had Allison Danger as a manager at ringside. We had Lexi Fife was on one of the teams. I think that covers everybody. It was, just Lexi, Danger, Lacey, and Daisy.
And we're kind of like skipping over like what the big angle of the storyline was, and that was basically it was Porsha Perez's retirement match. And Porsha's been a big part of Shimmer on screen and behind the scenes. And what were your thoughts on basically, her career in ring being over? And is she going to be involved backstage continuously, or is she going to be done, walk away?
No, she's absolutely still involved. She's just not going to be able to wrestle. And that wasn't her choice. It was a medical thing. She screwed up her neck pretty badly. Doing it was a combination of things, but it was to the point that she shouldn't be taking any bumps anymore. Like any time that she would be bumping in the future, she's risking serious damage that would last the rest of her life. So even though she would love nothing more than to continue wrestling for another 15 years or whatever, like most people, she can't. So, but she's one of those people that I compared to like Eddie Gilbert back in the day, or like a CM Punk type, where they could be a wrestler, they could be a manager, they could do commentary, they could help with booking. They've got a great mind for wrestling, and that's not just limited to being a pro wrestler inside the ring. They could do any number of different tasks involved with presenting a wrestling show, and do it really well, and do it a lot better than most people. So, she's a great commentator, and she is great creatively and everything. So even though she's unable to physically bump in the ring anymore, she's still contributing to Shimmer in many other ways. So she's absolutely still around. She's not going to be wrestling. So.
Well, that's good, that she's sticking around. I wish Craig was here, because I really wanted to make fun of him and tell him all about how...
Like, I understand I'm sorry to cut you off. I understand that Contreras not here, because he doesn't give a fuck about women's wrestling.
Well, actually, Contreras...
I give him a pass.
Contreras actually called in, and I was going to ask if he had a question.
But there's no reason, like, I just know that it's not what he's interested in, so...
Yeah. But I wish Craig was here, because I wanted to tell Craig all about how you booked Akira Hokuto on a stick.
Yeah, the big star of Talayla Championship Wrestling, Akira Hokuto.
But that was awesome. I don't know. I just saw somebody on Twitter posted like a link to that. What is it? Click to buy or Click Wrestling or something.
Right.
And so I just bought the mat. I just looked and I saw it was like 40 minutes. So I was like, okay, let me check this out. This should be pretty good. And yeah, it was awesome. You had actually Malaya Hosaka on the stick. And
oh yes, this was it was the 50th show main event.
Yeah.
That was another big. It was an elimination tag team match, but yes, Lexi Fife came out with Malaya Hosaka on a stick.
On the stick, and then the stick argued with the referee all the way to the back after it was eliminated. After Lexi also used a stomach.
No, some people don't take wrestling seriously anymore. There's no believability, man.
Well, what I love about Shimmer is you guys can have like this match that's just like technical masterpiece going on, and then the next thing you know, there's 10 freaking submissions going on at the same time in the ring, or like
I think that's too much of the influence of a lot of these women doing Chikara shows every once in a while, where they'll have big 10-man tags or whatever, where there's like a big chain of a submission hold. Yeah, that's definitely the Chikara influence. You'll notice that Bryce Remsburg is typically the referee of all the matches where something like that takes place, too.
Katrina, if you did want to ask a question, go ahead and jump in at any time. And
I take great offense to saying I don't care about women's wrestling. I just don't have time to watch it.
Oh, so you're now a big fan of women's wrestling. You pay close attention to all of it, correct?
No, not really. Sorry.
No, okay. That's pretty much what I
I heard you talk about a Q&A earlier, and I'm surprised they had a good time because everybody was sitting down and they couldn't take pictures of their asses. Which leads to my question about
Ed got his full camera full of photos during the show itself. So,
what do you think about Ed taking ass photos at your shows and then putting them on social media?
I don't give a shit. Do whatever the fuck
I
you
know
want.
you don't. That's what I thought. I figured you're a promoter. You don't care why he comes to the shows or what he does.
Dude, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're, as long as you're not interrupting the show somehow, who cares? Like, you buy a ticket, you can do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, as long as it's not like just interrupting the show or anything like that. I don't give a shit.
Well, I'm glad you're cool about it. You know, I know I pissed off Rob Naylor and a couple other people, but
whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. As if none of these. I mean, come on. Like, it's wrestling. Like, if you're a female fan that, like, you know, if fans of the friggin' Hardy Boys back in the day, they could take photos of the Hardy Boys for whatever purposes they want to take photos of the Hardy Boys. I mean, whatever. You want to. People who are wrestling fans are going to take pictures of, you say back in the day, people that went to WWF shows weren't taking pictures of, you know, Sonny and Sable and everything when they were ringside. Of course they are. Like,
well, shit, just turn on new. Well, not now.
That's being a wrestling fan. Like, you're not just. I mean, sometimes you're attracted to the people involved in the show somehow, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean. It's not
you're a man,
the most respectful thing to be doing in the world, but it's not like it's some horrible thing that needs to be punished.
Actually, you ought to be flattered by taking a picture of your ass. To be honest.
I mean, and I'm sure that the wrestlers and the other fans in attendance can take as many pictures of Ed's ass as they want to, because.
Oh yeah, I have no problem with that. If
Ed has no problem with it, then I'm sure the performers have no problem with it.
I was gonna say, like, if you turn on like New Japan when Maria's on, you know, basically you just get the full screen like Maria's ass. And then back in the day when TNA used to zoom in.
There was one screen capture that I've seen from one of the New Japan shows of, like, I think it was like Captain New Japan, like, it was taken from right behind Maria, like through her legs you could see Captain New Japan, like, staring at her. It was just a phenomenal photo.
Well, back in the day when TNA used to zoom in and out between SoCal Val's legs.
Yeah, you know, we're not doing that shit.
That was the best part of that Jenna Moretta match when they zoomed in on her with Queen Charmel.
You know, at least we as a promotion, we don't have the camera doing that during entrances. But if you want to show up to a show and take some pictures of the wrestlers,
plus it's a self-admitted pervert, so I just.
As long as you're buying a ticket, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have people buying tickets, the wrestlers aren't getting paid, so they know the drill. That's why they have Amazon wish lists. All right.
Now, speaking of like buying tickets, you do have the big show coming up in 3 weeks. What's your mental state now? Has the anxiety kicked in and you're freaking out, or are you chill?
I mean, the advance is pretty strong. We've already outdrawn what we did in like New Orleans. That was probably the smallest Mania weekend crowd we'll ever have. And
you've only announced, 3 people? Is it going to be like last year where it's like...
I'd like to announce everybody. I'm waiting on videos from... Like, I've told everybody that's in the tournament to make a video. It's been 2 weeks now. Come on, get off your fucking asses, everybody.
Well,
seriously, the 3 that I've posted so far are the only 3 videos that I've gotten.
Well,
every participant has been asked to film a 90-second video on your cell phone if need be to serve as your announcement. I haven't gotten anything. Fucking slackers. That's what I'm saying.
Well, spoiler alert. You know, somebody was busy stealing the show in Germany at that at that big
Some
tournament.
people may have reasons for being a little bit late with their video.
But that's good that you got a pretty good advance. Is it going to be exactly like last year's tournament where it's like singles matches the first 2 rounds and then a triple threat in the end?
Yeah, that was the format that we used for Volcano Girls, the IWA Mid-South Women's Tournament. So because that was the way that we did it then, and it went pretty well, that's what we used last year, and that's what we're using this year. So
Okay, and I know you kind of the Shimmer DVD tapings have been pushed back for whatever reasons. So is there going to be
mainly the reason was Kelly Skater and Evie and Mia Yim would all be unavailable to be there if we were to do it right after Mania weekend, because they all have Evie and Skater just finished a tour of Stardom, which was 3 months long, and couldn't come to America for several weeks that soon. They'd have to, because they have to go back home to and try to maintain having a regular job aside from wrestling, and they were nice enough to be given 3 months off to go to Japan, but they have to be back at their regular job for a little while before they can start traveling the world again. So in order to have all of them on the shows, which I absolutely want on the shows, we had to wait until summertime, so that's why.
Well, I definitely want Evie on the shows, because I totally love her, but Are you going to have any international talent on this show coming up, or is it all going to be
there's Canadian talent on it. I think that's going to be it, though. It's mainly we're doing a tournament to crown the Heart of Shimmer champion. So it's a way to, and this was very similar to last year too, a way to have a standalone show that's not in front of our regular audience, where people see the beginning and an end of something. Well, I mean, they're not going to see a feud beginning and ending, but at least if you're there in one day, you're going to see a tournament start and end and a champion crowned. So you see a story unfold in front of you, even if that's the only Shimmer show you ever see. You see the start and the end of something in one day. So that's why it's always good to do a little tournament show during these Mania weekend shows. And we've been wanting to add a second singles title for a while, so that's what we're doing, and it's a way of, Madison Eagles isn't going to be there, and she's the Shimmer champion right now because she's in Australia. 90 seconds.
Yeah, don't worry, we're going late.
I'm a live broadcast on Blog Talk.
Yeah, we're gonna go late, so don't worry.
Because she can't be there to defend the main title. It's okay, this is the right time to do the tournament to establish the second title that we wanted to do anyway. So the fans, they aren't going to get a title defense from Madison Eagles, but they are going to see the new champion crowned. So that's what we're doing.
How much you posted some photos of the new belt, and it's a really nice looking belt, and it looks better than the WWE belt, honestly.
It is.
And
I hear that the WWE is getting a new belt made. I don't know what it looks like yet, but.
Oh, how much did that thing cost you? Because, like I say, it looks pretty damn nice.
Quite a bit. I mean, real belts are not cheap to get made. And I'll kayfabe just because I don't know if the guy who made it wants people to know what it really cost. I guess you could kind of tell by going on his website. It was done by his name is Christian. He's from Germany. BeltPerformance.com is the site that does it. He made the current version of the All Japan Triple Crown. When they stopped using the 25-year-old falling apart 3 belts, they recently, within the past 2 years, they had him make a single belt that they're now using for the Triple Crown. That the side plates look like miniature versions of what the old belts in the Triple Crown looked like. It's a really nice looking belt. It's very similar to the current ROH world title.
Are the champions because I think in WWE the champions have to travel with their belts, and sometimes they give people belts as a rib. Do the girls get to travel with the Shimmer belts, or does the Shimmer belt stay in Dave's possession?
It's up to them. It's up to them if they want to be carrying them around, or if they need to be carrying them around because they're going to be defending the title on shows before other shows before I'm going to see them again. Right now, the Cherry Bomb and Kimberly have the tag belts because they like doing photos with them. They carry them, to other indie shows and stuff. Put them on the gimmick table, take pictures and stuff. And for a while there, they had so many belts, between the Shimmer tag titles, the Shine tag titles. Cherry Bomb was WSU singles champion. Kimberly was half of the tag champs in WSU. Plus they had other indie belts. They looked like female versions of Ultimo Dragon with the with the J crown.
Much better looking versions though.
Yes. So they wanted to carry the belt, so they're carrying it around. But I've got, like, as you could tell, because I've put a lot of the photos that I've posted the past couple of weeks of the new belt, we also posted a picture of it alongside the Shimmer Championship that was made in 2007, just because they're, like, they kind of look like they're a matching set, because neither of them, they're both, like, just dual-plated, no paint, just gold and silver on black leather. So, like, they kind of were designed to go along with one another in a little way. So since I have Madison's belt here right now, we were able to post those photos. But I guess the real question is, do we need to now get an updated version of the other belt made so that it looks better, so that the world title looks better than the Heart of Shimmer belt? So I don't know.
Well, once it's
who comes up with a design for a title belt like that? Who comes up with a design for a title belt like that? Is that you, or do you have somebody that does that?
I gave the guy ideas for kind of what we wanted, because like I told him I wanted it to look similar to the other one, so it's like, I mean the tag titles are silver and they do have like some purple paint on them, but for the two singles I wanted them to look like one another, similar to like what the UFC belts look like.
Yeah, they're huge, man.
Yeah. So, so I told him that I wanted the big Shimmer logo in the middle of it. Since it's called the Heart of Shimmer, I'm like, I don't want a giant fucking heart. People don't like a big butterfly. They imagine like if you gave a name for the belt like that to a designer, I'm sure somebody would. If you had 10 people design it, probably 6 of them would create giant fucking hearts or something like that. I'm like, the only heart on the belt should be like the word of in Heart of Shimmer could have a little heart around it. That's about it. Not a giant fucking heart. So he came up with a design. He sent me like a first version of the design that he came up with, and I had him change like little aspects of it, and we just came up with a design that we were happy with. So more often than not, the people who make championship belts, and there's a good number of different companies you can go through these days to get some nice looking belts made. Usually the guys who make the belts are skilled at designing it and doing all the leather work and making the plates, and some guys are just designers, or they hired a designer and then do all the actual physical making of the belt themselves. But in this instance, Christian designed it and made it. So,
if you guys ever decide to create a 6-man championship, are you going to make belts, or are you going to make like a world-class 3-foot trophy?
They would be always belts. There was some discussion for a little while as to whether the Heart of Shimmer should even be a belt, or if it should be like a. It wouldn't be a trophy, but like a
medal or something.
Yeah, and I was like. Heart. I'm like, no, just get a belt. I'm not going to do a crown or some shit. No, fuck that. Belts. It's pro wrestling. We're getting belts made. And there's nothing, and I hate, and granted, not every independent promotion has a ton of money, and we don't have a ton of money, but, I've always hated when, an indie promotion would just get some, Figures Inc. replica WWE belt and, put the promotion's logo bumper sticker over the WWE logo on the belt and then try to use that as their title. When, you really don't have to spend that much more money to get, your own original-looking design and belt made. It is expensive. I mean, if you only have a couple $100, you're not going to be able to get your own belt made. But, save up for a little while, invest in your promotion, and get a belt made. The one in 2007 that we had made, we've been using it since 2007. If we do get it replaced, upgrade the belt, have Christian design a new version of the main title, we will have used the first one for 10 years. It was worth the investment that we made in 2007. Get a nice belt made. There's lots of cool belts on the indies for the promotions that decide to actually get them made. I hate the fucking getting a replica and slightly changing it somehow.
Yeah, the original one still looks brand new. I mean, it still looks nice.
It looks like shit, actually. Like those pictures, I tried to make it look as presentable as possible, taken in the right light. If you look closely, though, there's portions of it where like the belt has been like chipped, like it's been chipped in certain spots, and like portions that used to be gold are now like very silvery looking, where like the plating has worn off. Like you can tell, and the leather's very worn at this point. It's like if you hold each of them, the leather on the old one is like so fucking floppy compared to the new one. And I guess it's a different. Everybody has a different philosophy as to whether or not you should always use, whether it's good to have an old looking belt that like has history behind it, or if you should always have a good looking belt that always looks new. Because like using ROH as an example, like there's a lot of history behind that title over the years. But would it mean more if whoever has the belt now is carrying around the same belt that Samoa Joe had years ago, or Bryan Danielson wore years ago? Like, granted, back then that belt, that silver UWF replica ripoff version, was a UWF replica, and it started to look like shit toward the end of it because it was thrown on the ring truck, not taken very good care of. But like, there was history behind that belt. So like, do you replace it, or is it better to have the same, like whoever's the champion now be the one that's walking around with the belt that Sarah Del Rey had? You know what I mean?
That ROH belt was tiny. I couldn't fit that thing around my waist. I don't know how Samoa Joe did it. He must always have to carry it on his shoulder or something.
He wore it around his waist every once in a while. It may have looked tiny on Samoa Joe.
That must have been when I was at my fattest or something, because I had to put that over my shoulder. Yeah.
No, there were definitely pictures of Samoa Joe wearing it around his waist. So
I guess luckily you haven't had to deal with a champion who pulled a Stan Hansen and got pissed off and decided to run over the belt and then. No,
but it has been used many times, like in matches, like spoiler alert. If nobody wants to hear how the title changed hands, stop listening for the next 30 seconds. The Madison Eagles Nicole Matthews title change that we did at the anniversary show, like it was a hellbound onto the belt sitting on a steel chair through the chair and through the belt. So like it's been through some war, like it's been used as a weapon in matches probably more often than it should have. It's probably not the reason why it's as beat up looking as it is. It's just usual wear and tear on a belt. Like there are certain belts that have been around a lot shorter period of time that look even worse. Like look at the fucking New Japan belts. They look like they treat those like complete shit. Like the Intercontinental IWGP title looks like garbage. And even the heavyweight title, like very similar to what I was saying about how portions that used to be gold look silver now. Like if you look at any recent photos of the IWGP heavyweight title, like it looks very worn, and like that was one of the best looking belts in wrestling history, like the day that it was new. But like and how do you allow something that looked so awesome to get so beat up looking? But
I guess I figured they just make a new one then. Okay.
Or just using the philosophy of if a belt looks really worn out and beat up looking, I guess somebody said it was intentional what Nakamura did to the Intercontinental title, because wrestlers have to go through wars as wrestlers in order to retain titles. So the belt should look like it's been through a war too. But at the same time, you don't want to fucking ruin what looks like a fucking, like, it's supposed to be the prize that represents being the best. Like that's like the trophy. Like why would you mistreat it? I don't get it.
Speaking of stuff like that, like the WCW World Heavyweight title, that was a beautiful title.
Yeah.
But
nobody ever fucking mistreated the fucking big gold belt,
Yes, but I always favored the original NWA title belt that Flair and Harley Race and them had with the circle.
Oh yeah, that was the one Kerry Von Erich fucking scratched his initials into it. That was a legendary thing. Like, you have to look at it very closely, but when he had the belt for a week or whatever, he grabbed something and like carved KVE in the fucking belt. Like a mark. But yeah.
It's probably
So what's your Let me get your opinion, because I'm asking a lot of people lately. Should we have a new version of the belt from 2007 made, or do we keep an old one because it has history?
Honestly, it really wouldn't matter to me. I mean, it would be fine either way, because I'm like I say, it still looks. I mean, I guess if you got close to it and looked at it, it wouldn't look as new. But
yeah,
when you're seeing it from the crowd or from a distance, it still looks new. So I mean, I don't see that's the problem. And then once Leva has that Hearted Championship belt around her waist, there's nothing you could do to the main title to make it look better.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So, but I mean,
you put the names on the belt.
What do you think?
You put the names on the belts.
We could. I don't know. I guess that would be a question for the belt maker to, how difficult is it to make one of those versions where you can screw a little nameplate on the side because as more champions are crowned, we need to be adding more names.
Yeah, that's what I always liked about the big gold belt with that Flair had. It always had his name on it. And
what New Japan does with they've got all of the previous champions on the side plates. They'll have a list of 8 different little tiny nameplates on each side plate that with the name and the date that person won the belt. They do that for they have that for the heavyweight title and for the junior heavyweight title, which I always thought was cool. But you do have to. I guess that's a different process than just making a normal belt, because you have to make all the little nameplates and everything. But that's another. I mean, if we were to do it, I'd like to do something like that where we do have everybody's name on the side plates. That's probably very difficult. And we started off just calling it the Shimmer Championship, rather than claiming that it was a world title or anything like that. Because it wasn't. It was being defended in the Berwyn Eagles Club. But in the 10 years that we've been doing shows, though, it has been defended in the UK, it's been defended in Canada, it's been defended in Australia, it's been to Japan. It hasn't been defended there yet, but just a matter of time before whoever the champion is actually does have a title match in Japan. So it's do we start calling it the world title and we just get a new one made that says world champion? I don't know.
Yeah, I always thought it was funny, in Memphis when they would have the world title that's never defeated outside of Tennessee or something like that. Always found it kind of silly.
Yes. So I don't know.
I love the what was it? The Mid Atlantic title that had it was parts of 3 states were on it or something.
Yeah. Well, all the regional titles had whatever states that they're representing on the plate. The Florida title had Florida. Was there
Chicago
the outline of the state of Florida?
You could put a map of Chicago on it.
But the whole thing is, it's not just defended or just the map of the town of Berwyn. But it is defended other places, so I don't know.
So,
in a certain way, it's kind of silly to say that an independent wrestling belt is a world title. But if you are having it defended in 4 or 5 different countries, it's maybe time to start calling it a world title.
Now going back to the upcoming show, you were talking about the DVD tapings. It's a kind of last minute getting all of the match listing and everything. Are you prepared for this one, or is this the same process where it comes down to the last day?
No, these shows are easy. The Mania weekend shows are generally very easy to put together.
No, and I know the production,
especially when it's a tournament, because we already know who's in it, and so it's that aspect's going to be easy. We don't have to deal with an athletic commission in Texas like we did in Louisiana. The Louisiana show, I was afraid to announce any matches or even a talent list until we had all of the wrestlers checked out by the doctor and everything and licensed in the state of Louisiana, because I didn't want to advertise a big match that if one of them didn't get approved that we'd have to change the whole card.
Wasn't there some issue where women that if they had breast implants they weren't supposed to be able to wrestle in New Orleans or something like that?
Maybe. I forgot if that was New Orleans or a different state. I remember there were certain states that had silliness like that, and there was definitely Missouri for a while. Maybe Louisiana was the same. Had a rule that you had to have a pregnancy test within a certain period of time before the show, or else you couldn't be licensed to wrestle. I mean, it's good for looking out for the well-being of the performers, but like to do that on a regular basis is ridiculous. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it was a headache because they all needed to have like blood tests and everything. Like, in order to be licensed in the state of Louisiana, you absolutely needed to have, prove that you didn't have any diseases before you could wrestle there. So we had, that was a difficult process getting, everybody, especially we had some international talent on the show, to get everybody like with paperwork that the state of Louisiana approved and everything. So, but they were able to do it, pull that off on the day of the show. Like that show, we were only able to announce the main event in advance, which maybe is one of the contributing reasons why we didn't have the biggest crowd for the Mania show that year. But I think a lot of that had to do with just there isn't a strong independent wrestling scene in New Orleans compared to like the Northeast and indie wrestling hotbeds.
Well, it seems like everything for this Mania seems like almost all the shows are making some kind of news one way or another.
Yeah, there's a lot going on that weekend.
Yeah. Now, how much does it? Okay, I think it might be a lot of the same production people, but does it make it easier or more difficult when you're using WWN Live, since they're the
incredibly easier, because all I have to do is show up and run the show and leave. Everything else, like they're handling selling all the tickets, they handle everything with renting the venue, with getting the ring, arranged, with setting, the set, with obviously all of the production equipment, cameras, the live pay-per-view equipment and everything. All I've got to do is show up the day of the show with all the wrestlers there, put on the show that I want to put on, and get out of there in time for the next show to happen.
Who's actually the boss of WWN Live? Is it Gabe or Sal?
I think they're kind of partners. I mean, if it came right down to it, probably Sal's name is on more of the stuff, but like, I think that Gabe does have some ownership stake in it, though. So I would say partners, but maybe Sal a little bit more. But Gabe is the booker. I mean, he's creative for Evolve and was for Dragon Gate. And then the other affiliated promotions have their own booking teams, be it Shine or FIP or whatever.
So what's your schedule for Mania weekend then? Are you just showing up basically that day and leaving the next, or are you going to be there the whole weekend? I don't know yet.
I'm actually considering driving. I'm probably crazy, but I've never driven to Texas. I live in Chicago, so maybe that's kind of crazy to do. But I mean, I drove to New Orleans just because I was like, I've never driven to fucking Louisiana. Why not? I'll have my car with me. I don't have to. I like having the option to just like leave whenever the fuck I want. Like, I don't have to be at the airport at a certain time. I can stay. Like, if there's something to hang out, stay and hang out and do something else, I can. So I'm thinking about doing that, and so I'd probably come in a couple days early. I'll hit up, at least one or two of the other shows while I'm there. Like last year, I saw some of the I guess it would have been Evolve, whether it was a Super Show or Evolve or whatever was right after Shimmer at the building in San Jose. I stuck around for that, and then me and Nakagawa and Hashi went over to the WrestleCon building and saw the WrestleCon Super Show that night.
That's right. I ran into you that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots to do. I haven't made specific plans. Because WrestleCon's going on, which is separate from where our show is part of the WWN Live experience. It's two different locations. Ours is at it's called Eddie Dean's Ranch, and like a mile away at the Hyatt Regency is the WrestleCon stuff.
Yeah, that's what's awesome about this year is everything is fucking right next to each other.
Yeah, and like even if you go on Google Earth or Google Maps, whatever, the Street View thing, like to look at Eddie Dean's Ranch, if you just turn to the left, you see the building that Access is happening in. And right next to the building is the parking lot that we share with Access. So it's like, and then like a mile down the street is the Hyatt Regency, which is WrestleCon. So
yeah, I went to
everything is right next to each other.
I went to map WrestleCon to the venue because I'm going to ROH and NXT, so I mapped it, and then it told me if you're walking, it's 3 minutes, and then if you're driving, it's like 2.5. So I was like, well, fuck, I don't even have to go get in my car, just walk the damn thing.
Exactly.
So,
now, where is the NXT show? Is it at an arena, or is it at the same place as Access?
It's the same place as Access, so it's right across the street from you guys.
Awesome. I guess we should get flyers printed up, huh? Just to guarantee that we fill Eddie Dean's Ranch, which isn't it's a small building. I think we can only fit like 600 people in it or something like that. But
that's a good sized crowd.
As long as we can, if we could fill that place with 600 people, awesome.
Cool. But if you get there Friday, come to the dinner, man. Dinner's on me, dude.
I will let you know. Again, I don't have any. I haven't booked a flight, and so if I drive, I'm on my own time and schedule.
Yeah, I'll buy you dinner since you didn't ban me for taking ass shots at Allison K's ass.
I think it might be a waste though, because at a Brazilian steak, I'm a vegetarian, so like at a.
I had a special request. A guy wanted to bring his vegetarian friends, so yeah, you can just get the salad.
So it would be the equivalent of spending like $50 on a salad.
It's $31.25.
Exactly, but I've been in that situation before where I've been with people who really wanted to go to like a Brazilian steakhouse, and I'd gone with them, and I'm like, this piece of lettuce right here is the equivalent of about $15.
Well, aren't like most vegan places expensive in general? Just like
I guess, but because I'm the most unhealthy vegetarian ever, I wouldn't know. Because I never spend money on like expensive.
So you're eating more like Fritos and Cheetos than like
lots of pizza, some pasta, you know.
So you're just a vegetarian, not a vegan, then.
Right.
Okay.
Just vegetarian. Lots of mozzarella sticks. Yeah, there you go. Mozzarella sticks and beer. That's pretty much my diet.
Well,
what are you doing? What are all the various things that you're going to hit Mania Weekend?
Well, I gotta hit WrestleCon because gotta get a picture of Missy Hyatt and bug her. And then
everybody who is anybody in wrestling is going to be at WrestleCon. It seems like. Yeah,
there's a lot. I'm going to spend a lot of money just taking pictures with the divas that are there.
Yeah.
Like, Terry and the Cat and a bunch of China. So I'm doing wrestling.
And as you mentioned stuff like that, I wonder if I want to be there or not, or if there's going because I'll run into people that are going to be like, so how come you've never used me in Shimmer? And I don't want to have that conversation with a lot of people. But anyway.
Yeah. But doing WrestleCon, the dinner, ROH, and then hauling ass to NXT, because luckily NXT starts at like 9 or something. So I think I could get at least 2 hours of ROH. And then Saturday, the Shimmer show, of course, and Hall of Fame. Sunday Mania, and then Monday Raw. So. And then I did get tickets to the WrestleCon show just in case we can see maybe the last hour after the Hall of Fame. It all depends on how long Hall of Fame goes, how long the WrestleCon goes. But that's what I did last year. We went to Hall of Fame, and we still caught like the last few matches of WrestleCon because it went long. So
right. And those WrestleCon shows go fucking long. Because like they've got enough people, like, I mean, literally over 100 different names, like, signing autographs and stuff like that. So, like, they just offer them a little bit more money to have a match on the show that night or whatever. And sometimes they're, like, in 10-man tags or something. So it's, like, you get to see some crazy matter. Like, I don't know what their card is yet, but, like, last year they did some fucking crazy matches with names. Like, there was a big 10-man tag with a bunch of XW.
Yeah, that's when we got there. Was right for that match. And they got a lot of the underground luchadors and just a lot of people. So it looks like, I'm like I said, hoping to catch a little piece of it.
Where is Hall of Fame?
The Hall of Fame is
venue?
It's
Is it far from where everything else is?
No, everything's pretty close. The only thing that's far is Mania itself. I'd have to look at the map for that one, but it's still not that far.
But like it's not at the Access/NXT place.
No, I don't think it's there. I think it's somewhere else. I think it's where like they're going to do Raw the Arena.
Okay.
Not positive though, but yeah. But yeah, it should be good. I mean, I'm pretty excited. Like I say, I can't even tell if it's 2 or 3 weeks away. But the WrestleCon, man, the WrestleCon, I thought they were going to kind of put a kibosh on my buses because I had
they're doing their own, right? Is WWN doing buses too?
I think they might be doing something with buses. I'm not too sure. But I know
everybody is. But like there's so many people going to Mania any year that like you can have 5 different people doing bus trips and all of them are going to sell out. So
like Brian Fritz had like made a tweet that if anybody needed a ride, look me up, and on the tweet he put at WrestleCon because that's the hotel we're picking up. So next thing I know, I got a letter from the guy in charge of WrestleCon asking me who did I set this up with from the hotel, and did not seem very happy. And I was like, I didn't set anything up with anybody. I just did this last year. We did it at your hotel. It's for I made sure to put it's for the Observer site. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then after that, he was cool and said, yeah, no problem. Just keep, if you can get your buses a little away, distance, so there's no confusion and everything. And he was real cool about it. Before like a minute there, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to find a new place.
But everybody that's doing that has sold out their bus trips. So it's like everybody's making some money on it when all is said and done. I'm sure I'd be pretty pissed too if somebody was doing a bus trip from the same hotel as I'm booking this convention and doing my own bus trip from. So
he told me one of the reasons he was kind of like upset because he thought it was a hotel that went behind his back because some other wrestling group tried to book one of the rooms there for their own show after they had already rented the whole place, and they paid a lot of money up front for everything. So I can understand him being worried, but
they'll have to do the same thing every year, like a year in advance. Like I remember in San Jose last year, he's like, I had to put down the advance for Dallas. And it's like just to have the building and have the dates held, he had to like put down a ton of money. He had to essentially buy a new car in order to reserve the building.
Yeah, but I'm sure they're all going to make money off of this one because it just like seems like there's just so many people. Like San Jose and New Orleans, there was a lot of people, but like it felt more like New York when there was just like more. It seemed like there were just more people for those shows. And the same thing with this one.
Well, I mean, you're in a bigger city and there's more. I guess I don't know. I guess not in Dallas. There's not. There is an independent wrestling scene, but it's not like New York City, East Coast. Like that was like that's the indie wrestling hotbed. The year that they did New Jersey, New York, but there's enough of a presence in Texas that I guess.
I think it's a lot like a history thing because maybe the independent scene is not big, but people still have such fond memories.
Yeah. It was a good territory. Yeah.
And stuff. So one of the things that I plan on doing is I plan on going to the gray sites and.
You plan on going to the fucking school book depository?
I don't know. So some of the guys are, we got time to kill on Monday before Raw, so that or maybe go to Dallas,
right,
and buy a J.R. Ewing hat or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll drive. I want to drive. If I drive, I have to go through Oklahoma, so I'll try to find Bill Watts' house or something.
Well, Couture lives in Dallas, so you could stay with him that weekend. Stay with him if you want.
You live in Dallas. So are you coming to anything that weekend? Are you going to any of the shows?
I'm just going to. We went to the dinner Friday, and I'm going to WrestleMania.
Okay.
He doesn't like wrestling fans.
I've got my niece and nephews coming down, and I told them I'd take them to see Batman v Superman on Saturday, so we're going to go do that.
You're not going to take them to go hang out with Brian Alvarez at dinner or whatever?
Yeah, not with Ed. I don't need them head off from thing.
Do you know that Frank Kremen's coming to the dinner?
Oh, that's even more reason for me to try to make sure that I can be there to have my salad with Brent Kremen.
Yeah.
Are you going to book Brent Kremen and Missy Hyatt at the dinner together?
I'm going to try and get Missy to go. I'll do everything I can.
Yeah, make that happen.
Now that Brian's got his YouTube, I hope somebody has a camera and he just tells them to follow Brent Kremen throughout. Because I would love to get footage of him walking up to all the wrestlers at WrestleCon and talking to them and using their shoot names.
Make it like a Figure 4 reality show following Brent Kremen around all weekend.
Yeah,
I just want to film Brent going to the salad bar, see if he sticks anything in his pockets.
The criminal.
Like bananas or something like that.
He's inquired about the bus, but he hasn't paid me for the bus yet. So there might be even more craziness on one of the buses.
Man.
But yeah, and now apparently, weeks after I asked him and could have set up a bus for the dinner and done something, apparently Dave is going now. At least for like Friday and Saturday. I'm sure he's leaving to watch Mania at home. He has to hear the commentary for some reason. But I was like, Dave, I want to get this bus, but it's a short distance, and I'd have to charge a lot. And the only way I think it would work if we did like a Q&A like he did with Mania last year. And then he never got back to me. And then I see like Port tweeting that, yeah, we got Dave booked for Whale Mania. And I was like, God damn it, Dave, you could have told me this.
Wale Mania.
Oh, yeah, Wally. I always say Whale Mania.
Whatever, Whale Mania.
So it should be a fun weekend. But I'll let you plug the show coming up, and you can get all the details out.
Well, we haven't, because I'm still waiting on videos from so many of the girls. We haven't announced many. We've announced Nicole Matthews is one of the wrestlers, Heidi Lovelace, and who else? Veda Scott. We have posted videos from those three. It's going to be 12 women, 6 first-round matches, singles matches, 3 second-round matches, and then 3-way elimination final to determine the Heart of Shimmer champion. And we'll probably have at least one other non-tournament thing going on, either a match, or we may be having some sort of interview segment to introduce someone who's going to be debuting in June. Or maybe she'll have a match. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be 4 p.m. on Saturday, April 2nd at Eddie Dean's Ranch, which is across the street from Access in Dallas, Texas. Tickets are at the great URL that Sal has set up for this, morethanmania.com, which also has tickets to the Evolve shows and to the WWN Mercury Rising Super Show, and what else? CZW is on that Saturday at the...
Are they doing a Kuji Big Battle this year?
Yes, Kaiju Big Battle is, I believe, midnight on Saturday night. It's either Friday night or Saturday night. I think it's Friday night. Yeah, I think Friday. I believe it is Friday night or Friday afternoon is Evolve. Friday evening is CZW. Then Kaiju at midnight, and then noon on Saturday is another Evolve show. 4 p.m. Saturday is Shimmer. 8 p.m. Saturday is Mercury Rising. And then I think that on Sunday they're doing a barbecue with Terry Funk type thing.
There's like 2 of those. There's a Terry Funk barbecue, and then there's like a Ric Flair thing going on, too.
There's everything is going on that weekend.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And and all that stuff that I listed is just the WWN stuff. Plus, you've got WrestleCon. Plus, you've got ROH is in town. Plus, you got NXT. Plus, you got the Hall of Fame. Plus, you got Access. Plus, you got WrestleMania.
You got some competition. There's a Queens of Combat show on Friday at the WrestleCon.
Well, they're not competition when they're covering several flights. Or they're splitting several flights with me. So,
okay.
I might actually be at the Queens of Combat show. I might have a table there selling Shimmer tickets. I don't know.
I actually got disappointed because I was hoping it'd be more in the afternoon, but it starts at 4, so the dinner's at 5, so it's like it kind of kills the dinner for me.
Okay.
So I was like, damn, I wanted to go to it.
Well, a lot of the girls that are on Queens of Combat will still be on Shimmer. I mean, there's some crossover, but there's also they're using some girls that aren't going to be on Shimmer, obviously, and I'm using some girls that aren't going to be on Queens of Combat, obviously. But if you do miss their show, a lot of them are still going to be at Shimmer. So our plan is to announce the remaining wrestlers in the tournament slowly with a YouTube video revealing each one during the remaining 3 weeks building up to the show.
Cool.
And if I don't get videos from everybody, I guess we're just going to have to announce them without videos. But what the fuck? Get me videos. Come on.
There's also
quit slacking, girls. Get me these videos.
there's also a show after WrestleMania that night.
What? Who's doing that?
It's I think it's an NWA. It's there's some
That's the thing in like is it like Texas Mania is the name of the show or something like that?
Yeah, I think so, because there's a lot of Texas indie talent, and then they got like Joey and Candace are
Yeah,
on
I know
it.
Candace is doing something.
Yeah. So yeah, there's fucking so many shit going on, but
there's lots going on. So ladies and gentlemen, please attend everything that weekend, including
and I still have a few open seats on my second bus, and I would be very happy to donate those to any Shimmer athletes who are planning on attending WrestleMania.
Or just people in town that need a ride to WrestleMania.
I prefer
that would like to purchase them.
At this point, I'd rather have the Shimmer girls.
Wow! Rather than money.
I didn't lose money. I've actually made a couple bucks. So
you can make more money this way.
I'd rather hang out with the Shimmer girls.
I see.
I'm a pervert like that. You know that. But
you keep the camera close by.
I was about to end the show, but I did want to ask. I just remembered
I invited Rob Naylor to ring announce the show. By the way, I don't know if he's going to because he has a busy weekend himself. But
hey, well, you
take lots of pictures of Rob Naylor's ass.
No, what you do is during the matches, you're like, "Hey, Rob, is that Ed taking a picture of Alex?" I mean, Rob's cool. I mean, I don't know why he got all his panties in enough water about it, but he's still cool.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you about the one wrestler that really impressed me the most, because I had never heard of him before, see him, and I thought they were fantastic. What was your overall impressions and thoughts on Kellyanne?
She did awesome. She was great. Like, she's a perfect example of the philosophy that anybody at any point in time in any wrestling promotion, like indie promotion, can get signed by WWE and leave, and there's always going to be new talent out there that wants to be on the show, that isn't on the show yet, that is going to be awesome and have great matches. And Athena, Kana, they get signed, they leave, but then that makes room for someone like Kellyanne, who, you could tell, she was more than ready to be debuting at Shimmer. She was trained partially by Lance Storm, and, she's toured the world. She's wrestled, in Mexico, wrestled throughout Australia and everything, and finally came to the U.S., and she fucking tore it up. So, I mean, she'll be on the June shows, because she earned a return booking through having awesome matches in October. So she was great.
I think the match with her and Kaylee Ray might be the best match of the weekend.
Her and Kaylee was really good. Her and Mia Yim was really good. She had a great weekend without a doubt. So yeah. Yeah,
that one was great, and Kelly Skater Kato was fucking awesome too.
Yeah, Sonic Okato had a fucking great weekend too. I mean, you'd expect that out of her because she's a veteran from Japan and everything. But
well, shit, isn't she one of the original Gaia girls?
She was in Gaia. She was in what else?
She's little.
She's been wrestling
for
she's been wrestling for about 20 years. So
yeah, she's this tiny little, and she's you can tell she's a little older. And like I say, she's tiny.
Very similar to Aquino, where even though they're vets, they're still in fantastic shape, and they still wrestle like they're in their young 20s,
Yeah,
even though they're not.
She was a badass. She beat the shit out of those girls, man.
So yeah, but you know what I mean, where people always I always hear that about like, well, you know, or like New Japan getting raided by WWE and taking all their top talent or whatever. It's like there are people that are going to take those spots though. When AJ Styles leaves, that makes room for Kenny Omega to be a bigger star there or whatever. Like there's always going to be somebody waiting in the wings to be the next main event guy or main event female in Shimmer's case. Like that's why I always laugh when I see people overreacting to wrestlers getting signed. It's like, yeah, they get signed, they move on in their career, but that's happened in wrestling for all of eternity. The best talent is going to get opportunities somewhere else. And when they leave, then you just create more stars. You elevate younger people to the next level. And usually they're really hungry for wanting the opportunity to prove themselves, and they're going to have really good matches. And that's always been the case throughout wrestling history.
Yeah, it's I will be sad when eventually they take Kaylee Ray and Evie, because eventually
everybody's going to get. Yeah, I mean, I'm fully prepared for everybody to get signed because they all deserve to get signed. They deserve to be making a lot more money than they're making at the Berwyn Eagles Club. So.
Like with Kaylee Ray, like the first time I saw her was the New Orleans show, and she had a good look. She's a pretty girl. But she totally had a makeover on this last Shimmer taping, and I don't think anyone looked more like a star than her. I mean, honestly, she looked like
get curly hair and dye it a little bit. Instead of bright red, it was like a darker red. And
yeah.
I mean, she looked
she looked like she should have been on fucking Raw that night.
Yeah, there was a lot of talent that are more than ready. To be on television and more. So, and I foresee that happening soon. And I know there's WWE type people that will be scouting talent all weekend at the shows. So I expect people to get signed pretty soon.
Do you I know you work with Sal, but you're not really part of WWN Live per se. They do seem to have.
Well, even though we don't do every show isn't an iPay-per-view on their deal. Like even though ROH was like the people selling the DVDs, it's always been a partnership with Sal on the DVD end. So we are part of that whole umbrella of promotions, even though we're not even though he doesn't do iPay-per-views from our Berwyn shows.
Yes. Well, what I was getting at is they're starting to have a relationship with WWE. Like Ibushi is going to be at the Evolve shows, and they've sent NXT talent to Evolve shows. I guess this really opens the door for them to start scouting and checking out Shimmer, since you are
they've been doing it for a while. It's in the past. You'll notice in the past couple of years, and it's not just they're scouting one or two promotions. They're scouting everything. Whether it's WWN related or anything else, especially in the past 2 or 3 years, they are way more open to the idea of signing stars from around independent wrestling and just foreign, people who are stars in Japan or whatever, whether they're Japanese talent or someone like Fergal Devitt, where they've built or Carl Anderson, where they've built their reputation in Japan even though they're not from there. For years it was they'd hire these football players or, star athletes from other sports, send them to OVW, and then try to teach them to be pro wrestlers and cross their fingers and hope that they turn out well. But once, Punk and Danielson and, Kevin Steen and, Generico and everybody, they've all proven that, it's smart to hire the best guys from the indies because they've been doing it for years already, and more often than they might need to be taught certain things about working for television, but they're prepared to be wrestling stars on your television show fairly quickly, and you don't have to train anybody from scratch to be a pro wrestler. So they're scouting people from everywhere. They're doing this cruiserweight show. And they're going to be using a lot of talent from the indies and from all the guys that the guys from Europe that have been making headlines lately are probably going to be on that thing, like a Zack Sabre Jr. type people. So it's good to see that they're opening their eyes to other things, and I don't know if it should, but it makes me feel like more confidence going into the future that like the people who are going to be featured on WWE TV and have contracts to be making a living in the wrestling business 5 to 10 years from now are going to be the ones who deserve it the most. They're not just current versions of these star athletes from other sports that are trying to learn to be pro wrestlers.
And it also helps with the ones that they do hire from scratch because, Dana Brooke's going to learn a lot more wrestling Kana than she is, wrestling Nia Jax or even Marie.
True, true. But like someone like Athena and Kana are, they've devoted their lives to learning the craft of pro wrestling prior to ever making big money. So it's
I'm surprised they haven't put
people like them or people like Danielson back in the day or Spanky or whomever, that like they trained, when they had no money and they were, virtually homeless, trained, got trained and were working indie shows for free or for $20 or whatever and driving everywhere. Like those people deserve to one day, like if they become skilled athletes, they deserve to be the ones making millions of dollars one day.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, we've had you on for quite a bit, so I'm going to start to wrap up. Katrina, did you have any more questions you want to ask, or was that ask question the only one?
That was the only question you gave me to ask, Ed.
Well, I was hoping Craig would have had a few other ones, but
where is Craig? Why is he no-showing this whole thing?
Because he's not as good a friend to you as he says he is, and he's not professional. And
is Craig going to be there Mania weekend?
Yeah, Craig will be there.
Cool. Maybe we can ride the shuttle to the. Well, I won't be going to the airport this time if I drive. Maybe he can drive the girls to their flights.
I'm driving over there. I have a car. I can put.
Can you arrange for a bus trip to the airport for all of the talent?
If I can't do the bus, I will make 5 or 10 trips. I don't give a fuck.
Wow.
I have a new car.
Is the Fort Worth airport 20 miles away, and then Love Field is close? I think that's what it is.
Yeah. So
I think a lot of them are Dallas Fort Worth. So.
Yeah, that was a drive. But I'm willing to help out, Dave. That's how good of a guy I am.
I appreciate that, Ed.
Just
leave your camera at home. That's it.
There'll be no hidden cameras in my car. There'll be no hidden upskirts or stuff like that. I'll be strictly professional. Unlike Craig, who decided to put work and money over doing the show with you. He has these weird priorities. He puts work and family above the show.
He knew that you were going to bring up Akira Hokuto, so
Akira Hokuto on a stick.
On a stick.
But before I let you go, one last question, and seriously, this will be the last question. And I joked that I was going to keep you on the line for like 6 hours to keep you on longer than the podcast you did with Vix. And
I don't think anything is longer than those fucking podcasts.
Yeah. Well, my question is, how did you not put a nail through your head listening to Vix's voice for that long? Because he'll be on Wrestling As Ever Live for 5 minutes, and I swear to God, I want to shoot myself in the face listening to him. I
like how many podcasts, do you, besides like the Figure 4 stuff and Observer Live, do you actually listen to? Like what do you listen to? What is your podcast rotation every week?
Well, the Dave and Brian shows, the Brian and Vinny shows.
Is it just Observer? Like, do you listen to other podcasts from other?
I try and get Fritz's show when I can. I used to, when it was when he was on the actual radio with Dickerman and them, I used to listen to it all the time. But I'll try and get Fritz in because Fritz is an awesome dude. But really, that's it. There's so much just from
any of the wrestlers that do like Flair or fucking Cabana.
It depends. I'll listen to, depending on the guest. Like I listen to the Cabana with Missy, but I usually don't listen to the Cabana because I think Cabana is a shitty interviewer.
I don't think he ever claimed to be an expert.
Yeah, well, like he was saying that on the
Missy one.
Guy
bullshitting with his friend.
Yeah. But no, like I listened to the show with him and like Matthews, and it was a fun conversation, but he didn't really get, and like when I hear an interview, I want to hear. I want to get info. I enjoy chit chat, but
video shoot interviews.
I used to love those.
You want in-depth questions and follow-ups and stuff like that.
I used to love those. Those shoot VCR tapes from our. I mean, it's no matter what you can say about Rob, he did put out some good shoot interviews.
Yeah, but
along with other funny videos on the internet.
The subject didn't really is a good talker.
Yeah. But
Rob Naylor's doing shoot interviews now, with people.
I haven't heard any of them.
With Hero and Meltzer, which was really good.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of them, but I can imagine an interview with Rob would be really good because Rob knows so much.
He knows so much about wrestling, yeah. He's got crazy questions, non-stop questions.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same old questions. It would be irrelevant questions, but it'd be something fun or something like that. So,
yeah.
Yeah, like that. But, basically, there's so much just from the Wrestling Observer stuff that it's hard to get anything other than. I'm part of the Angry Marks network, but honestly, I haven't heard another Angry Marks show in a long time, just because I really don't.
I listen to a lot because I always just have headphones on while I'm filling DVD orders and going to the post office or driving somewhere or whatever. I'm always listening to stuff, so I listen to a lot. And I guess you're not a fan of Bix, but. He the ones that he does with Chris Zellner are really good. Just because, especially for if you are a fan of wrestling history or just were a big fan during the '80s and early '90s and stuff like that, just listening to them. They're long. They're fucking 3 or 4 hours long, but those are really interesting to listen to. They do the one. It's. They go through an issue of the Observer. They'll read the newsletters for a certain week in wrestling and just be talking about what happened that week, all the major news stories. And, if there's something funny that Meltzer happened to write about that story, they'll read the quote or whatever, or just be he predicted this in 2000, in 1991. Did it ever happen? Whatever. It's interesting stuff to listen to because, Zellner's a really good historian, and Bix as well. Whether you personally like him as a message board contributor or whatever, regardless of that, they do a good job on. Those are one of the podcasts that I make sure that I listen to every single fucking time because they're really good.
Well, Bix knows his shit. He knows his shit. It's just that voice.
he doesn't have a very good radio type voice.
And those weird dramatic pauses.
Yeah, he kind of sounds, sort of like that, but.
But he does know his shit.
But he does know, which is why I listen to it. I'm not. And there are a lot of guys that have great radio voices, but have absolutely no fucking idea what they are talking about.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I'd rather listen to somebody that knows their shit but isn't very well spoken than. Somebody who has a good radio voice and bought a good microphone, but knows jack shit about wrestling.
There was this early podcast. I can't remember the name. Kid Zombie had posted the links to him, and it was this one guy. Maybe the word gold was in the name of the title or something, but he would interview a lot of old timers, guys.
Oh, the Wrestling Golds or whatever.
I forgot what it was.
57 Gold or something like that. I think.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be awesome because he'd have guys like freaking Bobby Jaggers.
Yeah.
And he knows they're full of shit, but he would just go with it and let fucking Bobby Jaggers fucking there ain't one goddamn truth to anything he said on that interview, but it was so fucking entertaining. It was the fucking best.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I haven't listened to it yet, but I heard that Terry Sims, the other Terry Garvin, does a podcast now that is supposedly very good from everything that I've heard, and he'll interview a lot of guys from the '80s and stuff like that.
Those are the best. The guys from the '80s, those are the best because they're still they're more open, but they're still kayfabing in a lot of ways, and they're telling you what you want to hear. You know what I mean? They're in Hulk Hogan mode, and those are the best.
Yeah, and and there's certain guys like Bo James has been doing a lot of podcasts lately discussing Continental and the Tennessee territory and stuff like that. I find that kind of stuff interesting to listen to, so that's why I listen to a lot of those Chris Zellner and Bix podcasts. And Bix and Brian Last have been doing some podcasts themselves now. Brian's He was a young kid that grew up in the Northeast and was around a lot of Dennis Coralluzzo shows. So he's another like somebody that I would see at shows all the time, and we even did commentary at one of those Eddie Gilbert Memorial shows with each other. Where he was just a big wrestling fan, a young kid going to shows at the same time that I was. And so we remembered the same things, so listening to him do a podcast I find very entertaining.
So I take it then that you've known who I was since the IATA days of Wrestling Observer Radio.
I don't know about the IATA. My computer, my internet connection back then sucked. So I think I may have only listened to 3 or 4 episodes of the IATA show as it was live streaming, just because my computer wasn't maybe I had just gotten a computer that was good enough to actually stream audio.
Well, you know what? I'm going to Contreras, send me the download links to those best ofs that you made, so I can send them to Prazak, dude. You're gonna fucking love it.
Well, I mean, at the time it was happening, I was only able to listen, but I did go back and I remember I downloaded a ton of shit from SendSpace a couple of years ago of those IATA era shows, like Tom Zank going fucking nuts. I heard all that.
I put all those up.
Ah, there you go.
Jim, was it James in Kentucky or James in Kentucky?
James in Kentucky.
Yeah. Who gave
that got banned because he
asked
Dave. Yeah.
He
got
banned because
that name is copyrighted.
He got banned because he asked Nick Bockwinkel to say hi to his friend. Just listening.
Can you say hi to my friend?
Dude, that was one of the best shows because he got banned and Alex in Puerto Rico got banned.
I remember, I remember hearing those calls too. Yeah.
And Dave lost his fucking mind. We are going to improve the quality of
Man.
That was the greatest show ever. That he got
Somebody needs to dig up fucking Tom Zank and have him do a current era podcast and just go fucking crazy.
He was great the first one. The second one was good, but by the third time he had jumped the shark. He was just trying too hard.
He ran out of material by then.
Yeah, because the third one he was just for some reason out of the blue he brings up gay jokes about Pat Patterson and stuff. It's but now you're reaching, brother.
You're listening to Over the Top Radio on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.